an absolutely immense change to my quality of life.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have Matt as a case study. So Matt, thanks so much for joining. Do you want to quickly start by introducing yourself and letting everyone know a bit about your health issues and how long they've been going on for?
I'm a student. I've just recently graduated, and I've been suffering with pretty severe abdominal pain issues for many years. Actually, I remember having abdominal pain problems as a child, but as I got older, it sort of progressively got worse and worse. And especially when I went vegan as well, I thought it seemed to sort of get worse in that time scale, and I thought maybe it's the kind of foods, the new foods that I'm eating as a vegan, even though I was vegetarian before. So I tried a few novel approaches, the raw, the fasting, things like that. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of information on the internet. Your channel wasn't really around, so I was kind of just going with whatever anyone said. It sort of got worse over the years. I hopped from different sort of diets within the kind of vegan realm because I always had the ethical connection. So I just thought, maybe if I just switch up the type of plant foods that I'm eating, that might help. But again, symptoms just progressively got worse over the years to the point where I started losing weight pretty dramatically. Having really bad acid reflux, bloating, like extreme bloating, abdominal pain, which it used to be on the scale of like once every couple of months. It then became like once a week, a couple times a week, and it was getting in the way of my studies and my weekend jobs as well. I was having to leave work with probably the worst pain I think I've ever experienced. On multiple occasions.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what I was suffering with.
Okay, and what was your doctor's take on all of those different symptoms that you were experiencing?
Well, I went to see the GP a couple of times, and I got a few scans, some CAT scans, ultrasound, things like that. And they were trying to find a physical deformity or some sort of physical problem, and they couldn't really identify anything. So I kind of got given the sheet that says, you have IBS. Here's how you might be able to treat your symptoms. And they also prescribed me with proton pump inhibitors for my acid reflux, which obviously didn't do anything. They weren't too much help.
Okay. And you touched upon a short time ago some of the different strategies that you tried in the past, from water fasting, raw food diets, and things like that. Do you want to delve into that in a little bit more detail and just explain how long a period you were trying to experiment with different techniques like that for?
Okay, yeah. So I started off kind of realizing that my symptoms were getting worse over time, and I associated that with the eating as a vegan, like a lot of legumes, a lot of whole grains, and a lot more fiber and things like that. And some part of me sort of fell into that sort of realm in YouTube, the whole raw food fasting kind of niche, and they kind of gave me a little bit of hope. I thought, maybe if I just change the kind of foods that I'm eating, I can still be vegan and then, solve my issues. So I was eating, I started off with raw till 4, and then I'd sort of progressed into a pretty much fully raw foods diet for about a year. And I was actually watching Bobby's Perspective at the time when he was when he was doing all that raw and that fasting stuff. And yeah, I didn't really. Initially, there was a little bit of relief because I was eating a lot less calorie wise. but it wasn't sustained. You know, after a while, the symptoms kind of came back, and obviously it was accompanied with a lot of other issues. I became anemic, lost a lot of weight. My partner and my family were quite worried about me, and that was all across the scale of about between a year and a half until I decided to move from that to something else completely irrational, and that's the 1 meal a day stuff. Thinking that, you know, the period of time where I'm fasting and not eating, I'm not experiencing any problems, so that's great, you know. So I would yeah, like I say, eat 1 meal a day, and I did that for a couple of months. And again, you know, it got to the point where I was eating my meal and the symptoms I was experiencing were just extortionately bad in terms of bloating, abdominal pain, acid reflux. And, you know, it just didn't seem very sustainable. So then I went from that to, you know, the normal whole foods vegan diet. And I was doing everything right, from making sure I was getting lots of fiber, avoiding processed foods pretty significantly. And yeah, just trying to do everything that the vegan doctors were saying, and thinking, you know what, maybe the reason why I had these issues, it's what my, you know, family members were saying, like, you know, why are you doing all this crazy stuff? This is probably contributing to your issues, and likely it was, and likely it did contribute to them potentially getting worse. So I started trying to do everything right, and I was eating a whole foods vegan diet for from then on for about a good, again, probably 2 years, something like that, with symptoms progressively getting worse.
Okay. So it was, I think it was around, was it June or July last year, you reached out to me, and I think you did the SIBO test and the comprehensive stool test. So what was it, what led you to taking those type of tests?
Well, I initially started seeking professional help in June. I knew a nutritionist close to me. She was also like an animal rights activist. That's why I met her. And she recommended a food intolerance test, which I did. And I tried that for like a month and a half, and it didn't really do anything. So from there, I sort of, in the last couple of months, I kind of knew about your channel, and I knew about the tests that you recommended, but I was hesitant to buy them and take them because of the price associated with them, and obviously I was a student as well. I didn't have a lot of money to spare, but you know, it got to the point where I was literally at I was literally at the point where it was so severe. The doctors at this point had said that there was nothing else that they could do, and that I just had to deal with this. So that was really the last resort, and I worked over the summer, got the money together for the tests, and reached out to you as a last resort.
Okay, so after the test results come in, we put you on sort of an initial protocol, and like I say to many people in who've got similar issues to you, I initially said to you, I suspect it's going to be sort of 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks in and around that time frame, maybe slightly longer, maybe slightly shorter, if you remember that conversation. Your journey's been a lot more protracted than that, because you know, you've had stubborn issues that have just taken a while to get on top of. So do you want to just sort of explain to everyone sort of the process that you went through, and how long into kind of that process you started to experience some relief in some of your symptoms? Because for a lot of people, they can get on top of their issues quite quickly. For other people like you, it tends to be sort of a little bit longer. So do you want to just give people a feel for some of those nuances?
Yeah, so we started off with the initial plan that you gave me, where there was only minor dietary modifications. So no gluten or soy or processed foods, and everything else was fine. So I followed that approach with the antimicrobials, with the digestive support, and the hydrochloric acid for the stomach acid issues. And my symptoms didn't go away really. and we would have frequent catch-ups where we talk about, how I've been getting on. We thought maybe it was the amount of calories that I was consuming, because I have a really quick metabolism, so I was eating, in the 3000s range. So we tried lowering the calories initially, and lowering the fiber, and there was a sort of minor relief, but it wasn't to the extent that it needed to be. So it got to around, I think, November time from then, where we thought, maybe there are some food sensitivities at play. So I started, sort of analyzing my diet and trying to see if there was any foods that caused the issues. But that was really difficult to do because the issues never really went away. So you couldn't tell from one day to the next what was causing your problems. So I tried the sort of elimination diet approach. Well, I tried low FODMAP first, which was effectively the kind of approach that I took originally, and I got quite a lot of relief from the low FODMAP diet whilst following your program. And I was following that throughout, and then I sort of delved. There was some low FODMAP foods that still gave me issues, so I kind of fell into a bit of an elimination diet approach where I stripped my diet right back to foods that I knew were okay, things like white rice, but again, it can be different for everyone. And then slowly from there, I built up over time, and this was over the Christmas period coming into the new year. I was slowly building up the foods, like my list of foods that I knew were safe, and I had a lot of reactions to weird foods like cashews. I couldn't tolerate cruciferous vegetables, onion and garlic, anything like that. So if I ever had a reaction, I had to take that out, and these reactions would take a good week to completely dissipate. So all my symptoms were back to baseline again. So yeah, it was just a really long process of bringing foods back in from a very sort of restricted stage, finding the things that gave me problems, taking those out for a couple of weeks, and then trying them again until it got to the point where I think I would say I had a good sort of complete relief of symptoms when I went on the elimination diet approach, and then then from there I sort of realized what baseline really was, because before that I had sort of very minor relief. So yeah, it was just a long process of doing that.
Okay, so from us initially speaking July time, when was it do you feel that you got sort of a good level of symptom-free living?
So from July time, I'd say I had a good level of being symptom-free around mid-December, and that was on a very restricted diet. And it's taken pretty much until about a month ago to be symptom-free eating a varied diet. Okay. So yeah, a good part of 10 months.
Okay, and what's your diet like now, now that you're symptom-free? Just explain to everyone watching what you're eating throughout the day.
Yeah, so mostly whole foods. I'm having a lot of fermented foods, like different yogurts, soy yogurts, coconut yogurts. I'm fermenting my own sauerkraut as well. And yeah, just a relatively normal diet. I had sandwiches the other day for the first time in God only knows when.
And tastes good, yeah?
Huh?
And tastes good, yeah?
Oh yeah. Yeah, made some chickpea mayo.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. But it's been pretty surreal, but like I say, it wasn't a linear sort of slowly getting better progression. It was at the start very much wave of weight loss, not really experiencing much recovery up until really the new year. And then slowly from there, slowly back up, gaining some weight back from there, and finally experiencing a normal life again.
Cool. And the various different plans that we've kind of reiterated over that period of time, without going obviously into the ins and outs of all of the different supplements you were taking, how did you find the actual plan itself? So any sort of positives, any negatives from that process that you can think of?
If the approach, so the approach itself is relatively easy to follow. It's not very restrictive at all. And if my situation had been like many of the other case studies on your channel, it would have been a relatively quick and painless process. I mean, just avoid processed foods and avoid gluten and soy for a period of time. So yeah, I wouldn't really say there were any negatives to it, really.
Okay. And what would you say the impact on your quality of life has been since you've got your your diverse range of foods back into your diet, and you've got all of these different symptoms under control?
It's an absolutely immense change to my quality of life. I can't quite describe, just the amount of gratitude that I now have. Experiencing all that pain, and feeling like nothing's going to change. Talking to parents and family members, saying that maybe this is it. Like maybe you just have to live with this. Not being able to make any meals with my partner, having to take prepared food everywhere, not being able to go to many social situations that involve eating, which most of them do, or eating or drinking or anything like that. So yeah, I was quite isolated for quite a long period of time. I mean, it was during my studies, so in a sense, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise because I had to stay inside anyway. But yeah, now it's yeah, it's freedom, really. It's what life's supposed to be like, and you never realize how much you take for granted until you don't have it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Would you have any specific advice for people in your situation at the moment who have got acid reflux, gas and bloating, cramping, food intolerances, skin issues, joint problems, any of those type of problems that you've experienced? Any kind of advice for those type of people?
Yeah, just do the responsible thing and seek out professional help. Make sure you're going to the right people, and yeah, just stick out the recovery process, because it might not be a matter of weeks. It might be, like me, it might be a lot longer. But you just have to, remember what you're doing it for, and take, whatever it takes, because it's definitely worth it in the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously, I always say this to people when I interview them for these case studies. Over the last sort of 12, 24 months, there's been this kind of apocalypse of ex-vegans who have got all of these gastrointestinal problems, gas and bloating, and similar type of issues. And they're most of them are fairly adamant that the vegan diet did that to them. What would you say to those type of people? So the Bobby's Perspective, the Tim Sheafs of this world?
Well, funnily enough, I actually followed a lot of those when they were vegan, and I could kind of relate, especially when Bobby's Perspective started kind of letting on that he was having digestive issues. And at the time, I was also experiencing digestive issues, but quite quickly, they oddly just jumped to conclusions that it was the fact that it was the vegan diet. And to all those you know, people that are adamant that it's the vegan diet that did it to them. I mean, I grew up eating a sort of mostly vegan diet. I grew up vegetarian, and I was eating, you know, a lot of common vegan foods. You know, like even soy mock meats and things growing up. I have family members, I have cousins that have grown up vegan, perfectly healthy. So yeah, really, they don't have any evidence to back up their claims, and you can't really take anything that they say seriously.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I think there's you know, simple cases of IBS, they can account for 1 in 10 people in sort of average Western populations. So, you know, and we know that for a lot of people, SIBO and those type of problems are often significant drivers for those type of problems. So when some of these ex-vegans, without any form of testing or any kind of knowledge or background research into these type of issues, say that absolutely categorically, no, it's, you know, it's the vegan diet which did this to me, I always listen to those comments with kind of a wry smile, because it makes me smile slightly, but at the same time, it's incredibly frustrating, because when some of these people have large social media followings, and they kind of, you know, when somebody like Tim Sheaf does a 30 or 40-day water fast, and a lot of his viewers go, actually, maybe this type of approach will work for me, and then lo and behold, 2 or 3 weeks later, beyond that, I start getting an influx of you know, requests. You know, I followed Tim Sheaf, and all of my symptoms have got much worse from doing those kind of approaches. It's incredibly frustrating when people follow those kind of approaches. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and in addition to that as well, you know, IBS is, like you said, it accounts for what, 1 in 10 people have IBS. It's sort of social conditioning not to talk about these kinds of issues. So, you know, vegans and people that are concerned about their health are quite open with these symptoms. So it can seem like a lot of vegans have digestive issues, but really, what it comes down to is that a lot of the population have digestive issues. They're just not speaking up about it.
yeah, no, absolutely. Completely agree with that, because, you know, if you're going from a vegetarian diet, or you're going from a standard Western type diet, and you have underlying issues, whether it be IBS, SIBO, stomach acidity problems, gut motility issues, pancreatic enzyme insufficiency, you've got microbiome insufficiency. If you take all of that into a plant-based vegan diet, then that plant-based vegan diet is going to shine a light quite quickly on those inadequacies within your digestive tract. And again, that's not the vegan diet doing that. That's just simply some underlying issues in the gut. So absolutely agree with everything you've said there. So what's next on the roadmap for you? So we spoke the other day, and you said sort of the world is your oyster now. So you're going to be heading towards London for kind of a start of a new exciting career. What's next for you in terms of you know, jobs and lifestyle and all of that?
Well, lifestyle wise, when lockdowns eased a bit more, I look forward to experiencing some vegan restaurants again. I've got my favorite one in mind. I'm just waiting for a date for when that's going to open. Yeah, I'm looking forward to.
Have you already pre-booked your table?
I tried to. I messaged them, but they haven't got a date for opening yet. Yeah, and just doing more things with my partner that kind of, you know, and just going to more social situations that involve eating and drinking and things like that. And obviously, being in London, I'll be surrounded by like the best vegan restaurants. We've got Earthling Ed's, Unity Diner, places like that. So yeah, it's exciting times ahead.
Perfect. Any other comments that you'd like to put forward to anybody watching?
Yeah, just like I said before, if you are having issues, do the responsible thing for yourself. If you're vegan, for the animals, and don't do a Tim Sheaf.
Amen. Don't do a Tim Sheaf. Well, look, it's been a pleasure working with you over the last few months. Unfortunately for you, you're one of those unfortunate people that it can take a little bit longer to get on top of these issues. But as I always say to people, you know, regardless of whether it takes 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, or in some cases 8 or 9 months, you will get there. For the majority of people, they will get their health back on track, and they will get their quality of life back. So it's been an absolute pleasure working with you over the last couple of months, and all the very best for the future.
Thank you very much. You've been a great help.